We live in a world where natural disasters are increasingly common due to the effects of human action and global warming. Think about this Sumatran floods or the 2025 LA forest fires. The effects of these natural disasters have large impacts to said environment. It damages and makes a place temporarily uninhabitable. We believe that the state should prioritize disaster mitigation over relocation. But I have to characterize what this prioritization looks like. First, the states make categories for areas. There's low risk, medium risk, and high risk areas. We're not going to focus too much on the low risk areas, but I'd still like to characterize that it's an area where NDs almost never happen. So it's more focused on strengthening public awareness and education in schools. But in medium risk and high risk areas, the government will make special infrastructure to accommodate disasters that usually happen. For example, in an area that's very prone to earthquakes or tornadoes, they will rebuild buildings or homes out of brick instead of plaster. Or in areas where it's prone to floods, they would make taller buildings, dams, waterways, and whatnot. But in severe circumstances where the area is genuinely uninhabitable, after, for example, say, a dormant volcano randomly becoming active within the past few years and it wreaks havoc on the land, the government will still relocate these individuals to different villages to further away from said volcano, and the state will still need to accommodate these people by building homes or temporary shelters. But this relocation will be permanent. So it's not to say that the state is 100% against relocation, but the ultimate priority is to ensure that when disaster hits, the people are equipped. So to say that we're going to focus on natural disasters that are more common, that are more prevalent when we're talking about this mitigation. So we're not going to be talking about very extreme natural disasters like volcano eruptions and whatnot. So we just want to make clear that the state is not against relocation, but it will prioritize mitigation, especially in natural disasters that are like not too fatal, as in floods, forest fires, or earthquakes. So why would the state want to do this, or why is it in their best interest? I think that this is an investment for public safety. Think about Japan. Japan is a very tectonically active country, as in earthquakes happen often, but you never hear about chaos or deaths because of said earthquakes. Why? Japanese people are very equipped to face these challenges. Well, why? Because the government is an expert at disaster mitigation. The buildings are all made, earthquake proof, as in like when an earthquake hits, it just sways, it doesn't crumble. And people are given education since pre-K. And like sure, maybe the short-term cost might be a lot compared to just leaving the buildings and infrastructure to how it usually is. But this cost has long-term benefits. When it actually hits in that area, the state, it won't need to like rebuild everything from the ground up. They won't need to spend as much money on subsidies, so they will save more in the long run. And sure, you could probably argue the same thing to permanent relocation, as in like, oh, if you move all of these people one time and they will no longer experience natural disasters, won't that also save the same costs? Well, I can give them one point, as in it can save costs, but not as much as mitigation. As in when you relocate people, like thousands of people permanently, you spend money on creating like extra facilities to accommodate the bigger population, and you have to spend like more time dataing the people being relocated. So it's a lot of hassle for the government compared to just mitigating these disasters. And keep in mind, in areas prone to disaster, meaning that there's multiple areas prone to disaster, so the government will probably need to relocate thousands of people yearly and whatnot, and that cost eventually will compound and rise up. And number two, I think it showcases the state's competence in managing geographic conditions. The mark of a developed country is a country unperturbed by their geographic condition, and they manage to adapt. For example, the Netherlands. The Netherlands is very below sea level, but they have a lot of dams and canals, so you never hear about Amsterdam drowning. But in Indonesia, especially in Java, it's only slightly under sea level, but whenever it rains for more than like 2 hours, it floods immediately. And people online, they mock, oh, Indonesia is sinking and whatnot. If countries don't learn to mitigate these disasters, they become laughing stocks internationally. Because, states have environmental ministers, and if one state can deal with being, below sea level just fine, then what's wrong with your state that even a little bit of rain causes floods? Never mind that, this is an area prone to disaster, meaning it will happen time and time again. And people living in the areas will be discontent because they see other states can manage it just fine without having to relocate people. So why can't my state do the same thing? And also number three, why relocation isn't enough or ineffective, or why it leads to more problems. Because at the end of the day, there's the same end goal. We want the people to be safe. We want people to live in safer areas. And in those safer areas, people won't experience NDs, or at least they will experience them, but they will be equipped and they will be, safe. Here's the thing. Oftentimes, people don't want to relocate. Like, that's a huge burden for them. Realistically, if you relocate like thousands of people, these people will need to find work, they need to find schools for their children, and they need to adapt in a foreign environment. That's not only a hassle for the government who has to, accommodate these people, but also a hassle for these individuals who are already used to living in one place. Keep in mind that it's not just like modern city people, it's also about indigenous communities. Sometimes indigenous communities don't want to leave their area, even if it is high risk, because they want to preserve their culture and land. So it's going to be a huge adaptation if the government was focused on trying to forcefully relocate these people whether they wanted to or not. And since we're talking about non-fatal NDs, as in no volcano eruptions, like, can you imagine if the people of Jakarta who's used to floods and then they were made to relocate to Bandung so they wouldn't experience floods anymore? I think the people of Jakarta would actually be even more mad. Like, the state of Bandung would need to accommodate more people because there's more Jakartans looking for work, for schools, and this increase in population, it might lead to even more conflicts to crime. So let's weigh all of this for a second. I think we've proved to you that sure, maybe relocation sounds good because you only have to deal with this issue once, as in you force the people to move and then you don't have to deal with them being dealt with natural disasters anymore. But we've already proved to you that mitigation is the most feasible option for a state if they want to look competent. I think our points win on magnitude and time frame in the sense that, first of all, this is an investment. It reduces, long-term costs, and also it increases efficiency because the state doesn't have to deal with, relocating and dataing and spending more money. And it showcases the state's competence in dealing with a country. It also shows that, relocation makes people unhappy, which brings more long-term harms such as overpopulation. I think our points definitely win on magnitude, as in our impacts are huge and it's more long-lasting. So proud to propose. Thank you.